Welcome back, Inebri-arts. This is Andy of the Inebri-art podcast, and we are recording back at the craft beer cellar, our kind of home away from home. And we're taking the podcast in a little different direction. Normally we interview creative people about what they do and how they do it, and we're some 100 and some odd episodes in. And the one thing that we find is creative people are so geared in to what they do that sometimes they have trouble promoting themselves. So we brought in a local promoter, Tony Gregory. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So, how did you get into promoting? So basically, you came onto my radar. I'm not even sure exactly. We got connected on Facebook somehow, but then I started seeing you post about shows that you're promoting, and we were briefly just talking about you bringing Saliva to the Spire Center for Performing Arts. You have the blank on his name now. Former guitar player for Scorpions coming there.
Right. Yep.
His name is help me out.
Uli John Roth.
Thank you. How is this something you've always done, and I'm just finding out about it, or is this a fairly new venture for you?
Well, I've been in the restaurant business for 30 years.
A restaurant guy in Plymouth. That's so unusual.
Yeah, really weird. But I'm actually from the Cape.
Okay.
I grew up in restaurants down the Cape.
Yep.
And way back in the day, a restaurant called Sundancers. I used to bartend there.
Yep.
And the owner, Gary Abramson, unfortunately he passed away. But he was doing shows, promoting shows at Puffer Bellies.
Okay. Back
in the day, which held probably 1,500 people. But he would get, his brother got him connected to shows, and he would do shows like Slash, from Guns N' Roses.
Oh, sure, yeah.
He'd do shows.
He was traveling around with, is it not Niles something?
Miles Kennedy.
Miles Kennedy, yeah.
But the thing is that back then Slash had his own band.
Yeah.
So he would do Slash. He would do he'd do big DJs like DJ Scribble back in the day, and he'd pack the place. And I was bartending for him, so I'd help him out with some little things. Then I got away from it. I ended up moving to Plymouth. I've been in Plymouth for me and my wife have been in Plymouth for probably about 10 years.
Yep.
And me and Karen came to Plymouth to look for a house, and I went up to the Colonial, which is now Main Street Sports.
Main Street, yep.
And I was just sitting there, and there was a guitarist playing. And it was Hitch from Third Left.
Goddamn Third Left. They are our white whale.
Yeah, and Hitch and Karen asked Hitch to play songs from Dave Matthews because I introduced her to Dave Matthews, and she kept asking song after song after song, and thought he would not be able to do it, and he did every single one of them. So that was kind of introduced to Plymouth.
Yeah.
But then I just kind of went back into the restaurant business. And basically, I got into a restaurant that did big shows. I went into a restaurant called Pins in the Kingston Mall.
Kingston Mall, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And at Pins, I was the manager and operation manager while my district manager was gone. But at the same time, we were trying to do bigger shows.
Yeah, they had some real names. Living Color was there.
Yeah.
Quiet Riot.
I booked some,
I think, or was it?
I booked some shows there. I had Fuel, like you said, Living Color. I had, I did the Buck Cherry show.
Cherry, yep.
We did some country stuff. Lindsay L. So I started getting into a different world of what my buddy Gary used to do.
Yep.
And then I started getting into connecting with agents. And once you connect with agents and you do things, then they know you can do things. So that's the hard part to get in.
Yeah.
Is to connect with the agent. If the agent trusts you and you can do things, then they bring things to you and they make it happen for you. So Pins kind of was the breakthrough for that. And then end up leaving Pins and deciding to do my own promotion company.
Yeah.
Which is TKM Promotions. And it started to do what we're doing now. And I've got 4 solid shows coming up. And, I feel pretty good about what's going on and the direction that it's going, and people seem to like what they're seeing.
Well, one of the things I'm really excited about is, and first of all, this is not a knock at them at all, because it's a gorgeous venue, the Spire. But up until recently, I felt their shows were hit one demographic. Starting to see that vary a lot. They got Vapors of Morphine coming in. You got Saliva coming in. They have Lenny Clark, so they're doing comedy. I feel like it's now becoming more performing arts and not just the one area that they were either most familiar with or just where they had connections, but it's starting to branch off, and I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, we actually had that conversation. I went to Bob Hollis, who is, pretty much the president of what happens at the Spire, and I brought him an idea of, doing some things that are a little bit offbeat for the Spire.
Yep.
But maybe we can get some excitement downtown and bring some things that might be a different interest, different demographic.
Right.
And he was thinking about it. That was the funny part. And then I started with the Uli John Roth show, which is, he's a guitarist from the Scorpions. And he is an amazing guitarist. And, and that's a little branch out. It wasn't too much of a branch out because,
right. It kind of fits the same era that they've been dealing with, but maybe a little different because they're very more blues and that kind of thing. But this is more heavy metal, but it's still the same age bracket.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I thought to myself, 265 seats. I had an agent talking to me about a show, and I said, why can't we do Saliva?
Yeah.
Downtown, which is a rock show.
Yeah.
We're not talking, I'm not against it, but I'm not talking a folk show or anything like that. This is straight on rock, and it's going to be a crazy, crazy night. And then I brought in Scarecrow Hill, which is a local band that hasn't played in Plymouth for like 5 years.
Yep.
But they've done some opening for some other bands, so that was an interest to me too, to see how the Spire reacted. So right now, so far, everything it seems to be going in the right direction.
Nice. So how do you even start? Do you start with a band that you want to bring in, or do you start with, a connection you have and who they represent? Like, if you want to set up your next show, like, where do you begin?
Well, it's interesting because it's a lot of different ways. Sometimes, there'll be late nights browsing the internet to who's in town, who's around town, and then you see who's there and all that, and then you can branch out and talk to agents that have represent that band.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's hard to get to them because a lot of times some of the bands have assistant agents, which it's the runaround and all of that. But when you start to grow, which I'm trying to do, and I think I'm doing pretty successfully with agents and venues and things of that nature, is to grow relationships.
Right.
So when I grow relationships, then I might have a band I really am looking to do, and that agent that might have been in the business,
might have
for
a connection.
30 years,
yeah,
might have a connection to get me to at least the table to talk about that band.
Right.
So that's, I'm very blessed that, I've worked with, some agencies that really help me with that. Paramore Group, Dean, great guy. Simon Says, I'm starting to work with them a little bit with Steve and do some things. And then TKO, they have Buck Cherry and stuff of that nature that is, for that demographic. It's just a very slow process when people think it's like, oh, you're just going to call a band and tell them, hey, you want to play? And then they play. No, it's definitely a process.
And I mean, we come at it from the angle of trying to get an interview, and it's very easy to send out an email, but I'd say maybe you get a response 1 in 10 times. Most of the times, you just never hear anything back. And I don't know if this is a similar experience for you, but I find the local bands jump. Anytime, we can get our, little, doesn't matter how many listeners you have, it gives us a chance to kind of get out there, do some interviews, maybe play a little music, get the word out. The middle range, I find, gets very not responsive. But then, we get turned down from some huge acts, and just the idea that they even take the time to respond, and because I'll send anyone a request, We've been turned down by Johnny Depp's band, Trevor Noah, and I just kind of like save those emails. I'm like, that's cool. For like 5 seconds that day, they may have known who we were. Do you think it's part of just that willingness to, shoot out those emails and not take the rejection?
Well, I really think that the way I see things now is that, so if you get in good enough with an agent, and the agent, is willing to work with you, then, like say like I wanted to try to have somebody come on your show because I think it's a great idea to, have somebody share what, their life and some really interesting things that they've done.
Yep.
Then the agent kind of helps you. So they're more like mentors with helping for those situations. Mm-hmm. And then also getting to be with the tour managers and stuff like that and talking to them, and they really can help you out in a lot of different ways. A lot of times these guys get, I probably think they probably get 100,000 emails, and they get skipped through and all that. So I think it's the more personal touch that makes things, be able to happen. Yeah. So I think that's one of the biggest issues is in this whole business is the personal touch. One of my biggest personal touches that I'm trying to do for Plymouth and the surrounding area is that I love to put local bands as support for national acts. So you want to bring in the national act and give them a local opener? I like to give them a local opener. For one, I want to give the local opener a chance to do something. Yep. And to grow. I remember I had Fuel, and opening up for Fuel was Six Fox Whiskey and also Third Left. Yep. And then I had, what else did I have going on? I had Living Color. Yep. And when I had Living Color, I had the Rockstar Posers opening up for Living Color. And it's just, I want to do this. And right now I have a big show coming up in New Bedford, which is a funny story. Would that be at the Vault? The Vault. Yep. Well, the funny story is that show was supposed to happen at Toby Keiths in Foxborough. I heard that's closing down. It closed without my knowledge. Oh, really? Yes, I got a phone call. I got a phone call about 3 o'clock one day, and this kid said, "Hey, I heard Toby Keiths is closing down," from a bartender that I know there that sent out a Facebook message. Do you want to move this show to a place in Boston? And I said, "What do you mean Toby Keiths is closing down?" Don't you love that? So I juggled and went into Scramble Mode. Yeah. And thanks to Howie down at the Vault and the Greasy Luck Pub, we moved it. And what show was that? And this is the Buck Cherry show. Cherry one? Okay. But the Buck Cherry show is a beast of a show. I mean, we've got Buck Cherry, Joyous Wolf, which they do Mississippi Queen like you wouldn't believe. Okay. We've got Small Town Titans, which they do that song that went viral, the Grinch song from the Christmas. I know that one. It's pretty interesting. Yeah. But what I did was I threw I threw the Quins from the area. Oh yeah, they're great. And I threw them on the show, so they're going to open up for that show in New Bedford for us. Nice. And we're really excited about this whole show. It's going to be a really really knockout show. So you mentioned a band that had a viral hit. Do you find that YouTube is kind of a resource to find bands and up and coming and new audiences? I know I've been turned on to bands through YouTube, and that I have now. The one that jumps to mind is there's a band called Too Many Zoos, and it's just a trio that used to play in the subways in New York, and someone recorded them, and next thing you know, now they're touring. And is that a place that you look to find potential bands? Usually what I do is I'll get the information of bands that are coming around, and then you look at agents' rosters and stuff like that, and what you'll do is then you'll figure out, oh, they got this band is kind of hot right now, they're kind of interesting. Like for the Small Town Titans, somebody, one of the agents called me and said, "Hey, you think you could fit the Small Town Titans on this bill?" And I, obviously when you're crunching numbers, it's a great feeling when people start to call you. It is, yeah. But it's a lot of work, a lot of phone calls, a lot a lot of my wife Karen saying, hey, we're going to go to dinner, and I'm on a phone call for 45 minutes trying to figure something out while I was supposed to be at dinner, because the thing is, these type of people don't wait. They want to make sure we can get something done.
Right.
But when you get those, then when you get the information, YouTube is unbelievable, because then when you get the information, then you go YouTube and you go to that song by them, The Grinch, that they did from the Christmas Grinch song, and they did a amazing rock version of this, and then you go online and you see this thing had 1.5 million views like that,
right? And
then you're like, well, these guys are worth putting on this show, and these guys are also worth looking at, So YouTube is definitely a very good thing when you get when you're actually looking for what you're looking for.
Yeah. So when I briefly mentioned in the opening that generally I feel like creative people have spent their lives mastering a skill, and it's rarely promotion. So I feel a lot of them struggle with self-promotion. Bands, artists, you name it. They don't feel comfortable promoting themselves. They don't know how. So I put together Andy and the Inebri-arts. That's my band name. Fish, copyright that.
I love it.
And I want to promote my band. Like, what's step one? Like, what's the one thing that I can do that...
Well, I tell you, Facebook is the whale in the room. Facebook is definitely, you can drive things with Facebook. You can drive them organically, which you first can start to do, because in the beginning, if you're starting a band, organically is what you need to get out there first, and then, because, sometimes you probably don't have any money to pay for anything,
The budget for Andy and Inebri-arts is really small.
Yeah, exactly. A couple of beers here and there.
Yeah.
But, it's... And Facebook has changed their parameters because it's really the content and how you work it and what you do. And, I'm learning that. And you get to be more powerful with learning certain things. Maybe your band doing a small video clip, it gets to more people. It's got more clout with Facebook. Maybe your wording and what you're saying, on your post, gets more clout, to Facebook. I think Facebook is probably one of the best ways. Instagram is really starting to turn up the heat. But Instagram and Facebook are now connected.
Right.
So that helps a lot. So you post on Instagram, you can post to Facebook.
And time of day, man. Time of day. Don't just willy-nilly post whatever.
Yeah.
Be deliberate about it.
Yeah, deliberate. And like my buddy Jimmy says, don't overpost either, because people don't want to see the same thing over and over again, because then they just block it out.
Right.
So I think it's timing of what you're posting, and how you go about it. Like, I hadn't posted about the Buck Cherry show for, I'd say probably a week now.
Yep.
But I thought the timing was right to give it a little extra post. And I took a piece of their video, which is the video, called Sorry, which if you look it up and you see it, you're going to know who Buck Cherry is. Mm-hmm. But my post was very interesting, because at the end of the post, I said, don't miss out, grab a ticket, don't be sorry.
Right.
And then
okay.
And then I'm posting the video that's sorry.
Right.
It's things like that, and it's also don't listen to the noise, because you're going to get the noise, because Facebook has a lot of noise too.
Sure.
There's a lot of noise that people just they just want to say things, and that maybe they're mean things, or maybe they don't listen to the noise. Just take what you're doing. Like, if you're a band, take what you're doing and just enjoy what you're doing, and show people that you're enjoying it. Show people you're trying to do something that's for this area, and try to help out the area too. Especially by, if you putting locals on shows or doing stuff like that, or I'll actually post local stuff. I post local stuff for the Elevators. They're doing a new tour coming up. They just got announced to
that's
it just started coming up. I think they just left today.
Yeah. Blanking on his name. Who's the lead singer?
Jackson.
Jackson. Yeah,
Weatherby.
Jackson Weatherby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're doing great things. I can't say enough about. I can't say them all, but I can't say enough about the Plymouth and South Shore music scene right now.
The scene is really crazy.
Good. And I think we can grow and grow more to put more things that are interesting, like a Saliva downtown.
Yeah.
So why not do it? If you can do it, why not do it?
So obviously you I'm sure you have some plans and looking to bring other acts. Are there other venues that you want to run shows in? Are there is Memorial Hall on your list at some point or someplace bigger?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to talk to Memorial Hall and maybe figure something out. I mean, it's funny that the Toby Keiths closed because what people don't realize is Toby Keiths holds as many people as Memorial Hall. It holds 1,400 people.
That's a huge venue, then.
That's a huge venue. So yeah, I mean, and I'd love to talk to a place like Memorial Hall and possibly do a crazy show there and something really cool, bring something to the area. We reach out and we talk to different people and stuff like that, and they know that they have some things going there. They have a bunch of different things going there too. But I'm definitely always open to doing things with any venue that is going to work for the artist, which is what you do first. Is
right.
If it works for the artist, and then you can make it work for you, and then it works for the community, and it fits what you're trying to do.
And you don't want to bring in an artist that you can sell 300 seats into a 1,400 seat venue because you're not doing anyone any favors.
That's the problem,
Yeah.
So yes, Memorial Hall is on my radar, but I'm going to have to do something big.
Yeah,
and that's definitely in the cards. Looking at some big stuff, so it's definitely not out of the question at all.
Do you have anybody coming that you can mention that you haven't officially mentioned?
No, I got a couple of really good things. The problem with that is that I would hate to mention something, and then it happened to me when I first started doing this. I mentioned something that I had coming, and then it didn't come through, and it happens because what happens is you got the riders you have to deal with, you have to you have the artists you have to deal with, you have the money you have to deal with, you have to crunch everything,
and they always have that attachment to, I feel like, every contract, pending other commitment type stuff. And
yeah, there's so much going on. I think this one I lost because of the radius clause, which was new to me back then. The radius clause. Yeah, the radius clause is so let's say a band is playing within 60 miles of you, within 60 days of you. Now, that might not be the exact radius clause, but that's one that a lot of people go by. So you can't book that show, because if you book it and you haven't signed the papers yet, or if you sign the papers and then the venue fights you, then you lose that show and the possibility to lose your deposit.
So if Andy the Inebri-arts are playing Pins in Kingston, and then you try to book us in the Spire, which is within 12 miles probably.
Correct.
That show could fall apart.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And they would state radius, and then Pins could come after you because I mean, and I get it somehow.
You don't want to oversaturate.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're selling pins, if a national act is selling pins,
right.
You're selling pins out or trying to sell as many tickets as you can in pins, and then 2 days later you're at the Spire,
right?
You're fighting. It just doesn't work as far as the demographic for how many people can actually try to go to that show,
right?
So that's happened to me, a little bit, and then so as far as that goes. You want to try to keep things under wraps, but in general, yes, I have some pretty cool things possibly coming up.
Yeah, and that's one of those. I feel like anybody in any business is always trying to work on something new, something cool. They don't always pan out. There's plenty of things that we've tried to do that just didn't happen or fell apart. And I was talking earlier about trying to get a interview with Rick Astley. A perfect example. It seemed like it was going to happen, and then it just kind of petered out and never happened. It's just, how do you, do you kind of just look at that as part of the business? Do you kind of get bummed out, or do you try and
Well, it's funny.
Because it's not really rejection.
My
but,
business, my business started. I started my business probably about 6 months ago.
Okay.
And within that 6 months, not to name a venue, I had a venue. I was about to do 5 shows. I was about to sign off on 5 shows. The person at the venue that was working with wasn't at the venue anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't have 5 shows anymore. Now I don't have a venue anymore. Now they make it too hard for me to work at that venue.
Yep.
And so a lot of things has happened. And then the example of Toby Keiths closing when I have a huge show going to Toby Keiths in Foxborough.
Now, had you already started selling tickets for that?
Oh, yes. So
you're already on the line.
I'm on the line.
Yeah.
Deposit, you can't get it back. Band
Yeah.
is already spending it because when the people get deposits for the bands, when the band gets the deposits, they use that for their
Travel
for their
and
travel,
hotels
for their
and whatnot.
touring.
Yeah.
So I'm stock.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things have happened to me. So at this point now, 6 months into it, like I don't expect not to like have things like that happen. And honestly, things are gonna happen, and it doesn't even surprise me anymore.
Yeah.
I
used to work in retail in a supervisor position, and there was more than once I was accused of not caring. And my answer always was, I'm like, just because I'm not screaming and freaking out doesn't mean I don't care. I just don't feel it's helpful. Shit's going to hit the fan. It's going to hit the fan. Flipping out doesn't help. You just kind of stop, assess, and then try and move forward and get shit done. No,
absolutely. And when in this business, you're Scramble Mode a lot.
Yeah.
I was just in Scramble Mode just before I came in. 10 minutes before I came in, I'm in Scramble Mode about a show I'm trying to put together.
Yeah.
10 minutes before I came into the building, I'm on the phone. The venue calls me. And then I have to call the agent. I'm calling the agent. Then I have to tell the agent I have to call him back. I'm in Scramble Mode. I'm learning how to live in Scramble Mode.
Yep.
Because you have to do that. And until you have the show locked in, locked down, the ink is dry, and everything's all set and going forward, and you're actually selling tickets and doing all that.
I feel like till they're on stage playing, you're not going to be out of Scramble.
Pretty much. Let's hope not.
Because you're always going to run into the bus broke down, or there's always going to be something.
Oh, it's crazy. Let's hope not. But but you have to you have to just keep positive with what you're doing, and then just go forward in that way. Because, like you said, worrying, being negative about it, doing all that, I think it's not going to do any good.
Right.
You just got to figure out how to do it, and then hopefully you meet people. That's the whole thing that happened with me in the Greasy Luck in the vault.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up one door closed, another door opened, and really became a blessing for me.
Yep.
And turned out to be a great situation, and we're working really well together on it, and I think we're just going to have a blast of a show.
And a lot of that comes from networking and delivering on your promises, that if something falls through, that you can pick up the phone and be like, hey man, help me out, and they're like, yeah, great, let's make this happen. We are in the midst of running our first show at the end of March. It is music adjacent. We're bringing Rocky Horror Picture Show to
oh wow, that's great.
New World Tavern, and so hopefully we won't blow that too badly. Things seem to be rolling pretty much as expected so far, but it's definitely there's a lot of moving parts. We had a hard time securing the date because it's something so different. It's a place that always has music acts on Saturday. And I'm like, this has to be on a Saturday. You have to give us a Saturday. And so we kind of compromised. We made it on a Saturday, towards the end of the winter, beginning of spring, where they're not expecting the summer crowd. And so do you see being flexible as an important part of that? Or, kind of going in with your expectations, but, kind of being willing to be flexible and make things work?
Flexibility is huge. Because if you're not flexible on certain things, if you're not flexible on the rider, if you're not flexible on what the band needs, then the show could not happen. If you're not flexible on a possibility of, can you do this Wednesday, and then somebody calls you and say, well, we can't do it Wednesday. Can you do it Tuesday?
Yeah.
If you're not flexible, then things might not happen. You know, so you know, in the case of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. By the way, just I would love you to send it to me, and I'll put it up on my thing and
I'll
post it out.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
But flexibility is huge. And I think flexibility is huge in life generally. But in this business, if you're not flexible, you're not going to get things done.
Yeah. You've mentioned the rider a few times. Now, what exactly is... I know what a rider is, but for our listeners, what exactly is a rider, and what's the craziest thing you've seen on a rider? I'm not saying rock and roll people have a reputation for being insane requests in their riders, but...
Well, so, it's interesting. A rider, just to explain what a rider is what the band requests that to have, from you for the show. It's a list of things. Examples might be a list of, so they want
M&Ms with all the green ones picked out.
That's
kind of like that.
It's funny stuff like that. Yeah. But they want lunch and they want dinner, and some of them are specific and vegetarians and everything. It's all broken down. And they want, obviously the booze is sometimes in there. They want certain booze, certain types of beer, certain water, but it has to be certain water. It has to be this water, not that water. It's examples of exactly what they want, and and then all of that stuff, hotel rooms and stuff like that. So riders can be very interesting to read.
Yeah.
Some of the funny things on the riders that I've seen. We want a lazy boy chair in the room. Just one lazy boy chair.
In the hotel or in the green room?
No, in the green room. A lazy boy chair. Not a couch that you have.
Right.
No, we want a lazy boy chair. Some of the other stuff, we want what was the one that I had that we want, special types of bread, but we're talking like really like out there like stuff like you have to go find. But there is stuff like we want mints, but they have to be this certain
specific
mint.
brand.
It has to be this mint. It's so there's some interesting things. Not as crazy as people talk about with the green M&Ms all the time, but things like random things too. But I will tell you this: almost every single band wants black hand towels.
Really?
Every single band is black hand towels. Now, that's because they wipe the sweat when they're on the stage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, white looks dirty because they're going to black hand towels.
Yeah.
So they all want black hand towels. And they're all different. Some people want champagne after the show.
Yeah.
Some people want food to go after the show. Some people don't. But it all works out to some crazy shopping sometimes. You know? Yeah.
So how does your wife like this venture so far?
Very interesting. Karen is she's a nurse.
Yeah.
Up in Boston at Carney Hospital, and I've been in the restaurant business for a long time. And
so she's used to weird schedules.
Well, God bless her. When I first met her, she was a day nurse.
Yeah.
But God bless her because she became a 3 to 11 nurse.
Okay.
She's actually working tonight. And she kind of fit around my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And the bar business, as most people in this town, because there's 30 bars and restaurants.
Is there? I had no idea.
It's a tough business.
Yeah.
And this business that I'm in, it's a tough business because, like I said, sometimes, me and Karen are going to go out to dinner, but I got
to make this phone call.
I have to. Or example, we're at dinner.
We're
at dinner, but there's a phone call I cannot not take because we're signing it or we're doing it right now that it's going to happen, and I have to know that in order to send the paperwork out as soon as I get home and stuff like that. But she's been awesome. She's so supportive, and she knows that thinks and knows that I have a knack for it.
Yeah.
And likes to see that I like to do it. And we always said that, if you like to do it, let's try to do things we like to do.
Sure.
So yeah, the support's been great.
That's awesome. So in every movie, TV show type of thing that I've seen about music, the promoter is always the bad guy, the sleazy guy. Why do you guys get that rep, man? What did you do?
Well, that's pretty funny. I didn't think about that.
Oh,
you're right.
Everyone.
The guy's a sleaze.
Yeah, he's always the one trying to rip people off.
Well, I tell you, I think that's just the movies. But I don't know. I can't speak for any other promoters.
Yeah.
But I know that my thing, and I actually was talking to somebody about this today that was an agent. My thing is, I'm not here to, make money and screw you or do anything wrong. I'm here to build a relationship with you.
Yeah.
And that's how I work with everything. I want to build relationships with people and make things grow that are in a positive direction.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, if you build a relationship that's a good relationship, it's going to be nothing but positive for everybody, you and the artist, you and, the people that you're working with, the agents.
Yeah.
But I could see how some things, because you hear the stories about, the promoter promised you this and gave you nothing.
Right. Do you think it's kind of like the buck stops here mentality where, everybody kind of looks at it, if the crowd's there and the band, is late, it's the promoter's fault. If the band's there and the sound system's not right, even though it's maybe the sound guy or some fluke thing, it's the promoter's fault. Do you think it's just that's where the buck stops is on you?
Yeah, you can see that in a few different ways. But I will tell you this, the main thing is that the biggest thing is, like, I'm a promoter. I'm not a big guy in this piece of this game.
Mm-hmm.
The agent, he's not a big guy in the piece of this game. These are national acts.
Yeah.
So those national acts, you want to make them happy.
Yeah.
Because if you make them happy, then everybody's going to be happy.
Because they're going to go and perform their best.
Their best, but they're also going to suggest to people.
Oh,
These
sure.
national acts know everybody.
Sure.
So they suggest to people, like, oh, work with Tony. It's awesome. It's a great experience. He's going to take care of you.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not anything really except for a facilitator to facilitate a great show, but take care of the people that I'm with, especially the artists, and then it grows that way. But yeah, if you show up and there's no sound guy, there's a problem.
Right.
And who needs to take care of the problem?
You
need to take care of the problem. So yeah, it definitely is if you can't think on your feet and take care of problems very quickly,
yeah,
I wouldn't try to be a promoter, because I would say that one thing about it is it's spur of the moment. Things happen all the time.
Yeah. I'll give you a great example, and this is a huge shout out to our friends that ran Plymouth Winterfest, because I think they did a phenomenal job. I don't know if you made it to Plymouth Winterfest.
I saw it, and you know what? I didn't get to make it, but they did a great job of what they were doing.
So
really did.
I was talking
and the promotions too
to our contact. I forget what we needed, but it was something fairly small. And I called him. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna get back to you." He's like, "We're having an issue with generators," and the laser show told them they needed 8 outlets. And like, great, not a problem. So they had like 2 generators that had 4 outlets each. Laser light show showed up. They're like, "Where are the other 6 generators?" And they're like, "What are you talking about? You said 8 outlets. There's 8 outlets." Like, no, it said 8 generators. And it was one of those things. The email said 8 outlets, but they're like, "We can't not have the laser show."
Yeah, it's amazing.
So they had in the
I'm
course
sorry.
of a day.
I did come back by the laser show. I did do that.
Yeah.
That was really, really good.
In the course of a day, not even day, hours, they scared up 6 generators out of the blue to make it happen. And that's one of those. You could sit there and argue with the guy all day about, no, you said 8 outlets, but arguing with him, even if he's wrong, isn't going to make the laser light show happen.
Exactly. And yeah, so the buck stops here is definitely a situation where you have to make sure the show goes off the way it should go off.
Right.
And so everybody's like, oh, as soon as the day of the show, the tickets have been sold and this and that and this and that. And I'm like, no, not really. like when that last guitar strums and the last words of that song come
Thank you,
out,
good night. Then you're
thank you, good night. And then you can take a breath because you don't have to fix a problem if there's something happens quickly that you need to fix.
Yeah.
You know.
So Andy and the Inebri-arts, we're looking to put together our management team. I know from experience that, you know, there's the PR manager, there's your manager. He said there's a tour manager. Starting off, is there like one manager? Like, how does that work? Who do you contact? Do you contact the manager, the tour manager, the PR? Like, who's the go-to guy that my band and the Inebri-arts touring this summer needs?
Well, it's definitely the connection is through the agent.
Yeah.
Because then the agent will get you all the information on everybody else you need to contact. So you start with the agent, and it goes from the agent usually to the tour manager, and then the tour manager breaks it down with you, you know, on the show, on what they need, what's going to happen, and then if you're missing something, then you have to find it and do things like that, like we talked about, and then usually. It's, you know, the marketing person you can get in touch with that markets what they do. Mm-hmm. Then you can get in touch with them. You know, if you're putting up events on Facebook, you get in touch with them. You're going to have co-hosts for all the events, making sure that everybody is putting their piece of the pie into it and putting it out there. And then it always comes back to the agent's kind of out of the picture then it always comes back to the tour manager, and then you just work with the tour manager, and then it comes to the band. Yeah. Then you meet the bands and make sure the band's taken care of. So it kind of goes like that. It kind of goes agent, tour manager. Now everything's going in the right direction. Then you go to the marketing people that are marketing the show and promoting the show through what they're doing, and you work with them, and then you work with the band.
So, Tony, dream Spire show, like you got to have like that in your head. Local opening act, national act to follow, and it has to be. You can't be like, oh, I'd like to get a Led Zeppelin reunion. Like, has to fit the venue. Who would it be?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Like I said, there's so many good local bands. Mm-hmm. So you'd really have to like work on which band would fit for the show.
Oh, sure. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know, so that's how you do things too. Like with like when you open up, I'm doing the Saliva show down, you know, at the Spire. Mm-hmm. But when you open up,
you wouldn't get like a jam band.
No. So what you do is you get Scarecrow Hill, which is the same type of music that they do.
Yep.
But a dream show for the Spire. Oh, I tell you, I could probably see.
The Andy and the Inebri-arts are available.
Yeah, you know that could work too. We could put you guys in the parking lot before the show.
Sure,
and you guys could play it out, and it'd be fun.
In Plymouth, walking in, and somehow we get a ticket from Plymouth Park.
Absolutely. But maybe a dream show would be something like, you know, Joe Perry's band.
Oh yeah,
you know,
the Joe Perry
Project.
Yep.
With special guest Steven Tyler to do a couple songs.
That'd be kind of cool, yeah.
I mean, that would be just ridiculous.
Yeah,
people would pay. I don't even know. They'd probably pay $200 a ticket, $300 a ticket. You know, that would be ridiculous. You know, and then honestly, you'd open up with something. You know, we'd open up with something like, you know, once again, a Third Left, a Six Buck Whiskey, a Quinn's. Yeah. You know, you'd open up with stuff like that. You know, to make it fun and have the local people open it up, because like you know, and maybe even a local artist that is, you know, basically new and trying their own thing too. Mm-hmm. You know, or maybe they have a local artist they like too, from not just from Plymouth, from Marshfield, from all that. Like I said, it's hard to. I could name them. I mean, you'd have to fit it with the show.
Do the local bands, if Hitch came to you and been like, "This is my rider," do you laugh in his face and tear it up? You'd be like, yeah, whatever, man. Or like, how much requests do they get to make?
Yeah. You know, it's funny for a bigger band, for a national act. It's kind of like the support is kind of told to you what the support money is going to be, what we're going to do, all that stuff. So, you know, somebody like, you know, Hitch comes up to me and says, yeah, we're going to.
I want a purple lazy boy.
I want a purple lazy boy. You know, I'd like, seven Jaeger and Red Bulls before the show, and I'm just joking on that, Hitch. But bottom line is that you do what you can for them.
Yeah,
and that's what I tell them. I said I will do everything I can for you, but at this point, this is what you're getting.
Right.
And then if I can make something happen afterwards, if things work out really well and I can help you out, I'll help you out. And they have seen that.
Of course, and I can't imagine, and I can't imagine any local band being like, "Oh, this is what I need to play." I'd be like, "Yeah, whatever." But I feel like the scene. One of the things that really excites me about Plymouth, and I moved out of Plymouth for about 8 months, and I'm moving back at the end of this month, so I'm very excited.
Excellent. It's a great place to live.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Is the music and the art scene here. There's nothing like it outside of Boston.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, and that's why I want to do different things.
Yeah.
Because nothing against what's going on in Plymouth. The scene is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But why not put some crazy
But there's
things.
still more room. That's the crazy thing.
Let's put some crazy things in front of what we got.
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing the Saliva Show. Let's put some crazy things in front of what we already have. Because we have wonderful music from Plymouth through the South Shore. We have unbelievable music.
Yeah.
And unbelievable talent throughout the whole South Shore. Include everything. Middleborough, Carver. There's talent everywhere that surrounds this area.
Plymouth is so perfect because it has venues for every step. If you're that cover bar band, there's tons of bars that you can play down here. If you're a little bigger, then you can play the back room at New World. If you're a little bigger, then there's a Spire. If you're a little bigger, there's Memorial Hall. And each step you can have. I've been down here where every night there's something big going on at the event, and it's insane. There's tons of restaurants. There's great food everywhere. There's great drinks everywhere. It becomes like this whole vibe where the town is alive, and there's nothing like it.
It definitely is, and I'm going to tell you something else. Off nights are fun too. I mean, there's some open mic nights.
Oh yeah,
that are amazing.
Yep.
Like you catch an open mic night on a Wednesday, down at Main Street Sports.
Yep.
I mean, the Quins are playing, and they are jamming out, and you are seeing some really talented, excellent music on a Wednesday night. And the Quins are, like I said, opening up for Buck Cherry.
Yeah.
And this is where I in like places like Main Street, places like, T-Bones, places like all these smaller bars you're talking about,
Yeah.
They have these bands and stuff, and what you do is, that's how you look at the local talent. You go around to these places and you check out what they got going on.
Yeah. And there's tons of stuff. So Tony, I want to thank you coming down talking to us. Where can people go online to find out these shows that you're working on?
Okay, well, I have my business page is TKM Promotions, and that's on Facebook. And please, if you like what you see, go on there and like the page, and they'll get all my stuff that I'm doing. And that'd be great, and share it with your friends because I'm going to keep trying to push out some incredible shows coming up.
Is that somewhere where people can go and kind of request, be like, hey man, there's no hip-hop scene here, can you make a hip-hop show happen, or can you bring this band? Can people request? I don't know if that's a thing, but can people kind of like direct you on a...
people can always go. I'm very open to people sending me messages and stuff like that, and suggest stuff and all that. Absolutely. I'll look into everything that people send me, and I try to keep up with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I'm open to look like that. I might not get back to you about that because I'm when I'm working on things.
Sure, yeah.
And sometimes things don't fit and all that, but I'll definitely talk to anybody and help anybody in any way I can. And I'd love you to, come check out the page. Once again, it's TKM Promotions, and I think you're going to like what you see, and I think you're going to really like what you see in the future going forward, because keep your eye out, because some events will be coming up that you might be like, oh, wow.
Yeah, well, I love when people create a scene instead of just being like, oh, it's not what I want, and people make things happen. So I think it's a great thing that you're doing, Tony, and can't wait to see more.
Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and this is an awesome outlet to do what you're doing, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, man, and we'll see more.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool. Okay, thanks for checking out the podcast. And don't forget to check out our other podcasts on the Inebri-art Podcast Network. There's the Bar Talk. There's Old Colony Cast. There's, of course, the Inebri-art Podcast. And our latest, Retro Redoctopus, a kind of nerd genre podcast that you can check out now, all available on our website at inebri-art.com. And pretty much available everywhere the podcasts are available, on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, all those things. And if you don't see it where you're looking, let us know. We'll try to get onto that as well. And you can also email us at inebri-art@yahoo.com with your questions, complaints, and suggestions. And also, if you could take the time to rate and review us on iTunes, that would be phenomenal. That helps us get more exposure and bring more of these great podcasts to your ears. And thanks again for listening.